Imagine boarding a routine flight, only for the aircraft to tear itself apart mid-air with zero warning. No fire, no distress call, no time to react. In just seconds, 225 lives are lost, and investigators would later discover that the cause wasn't turbulence, a bomb, or a mechanical failure, but something far more shocking: a mistake made 22 years earlier. This is the unbelievable story of China Airlines Flight 611, the crash nobody saw coming. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're breaking down one of aviation's most mysterious and devastating disasters, a Boeing 747 that disintegrated at 35,000 feet on what should have been a simple 85-minute flight across Taiwan. And the truth behind it would change aircraft maintenance forever. Let's go straight into the timeline. It's May 25, 2002, a Sunday afternoon, clear skies over Taiwan. China Airlines Flight 611, a Boeing 747-200, is preparing for a short hop from Taipei to Hong Kong, a route so familiar that flight crews jokingly call it the commute. Aboard are 206 passengers, families, business travelers, tourists, and 19 crew members. Captain Xu Wenchang, with over 10,000 flight hours, is in command. Nothing about the flight looks unusual. The aircraft completed pre-flight checks. Weather is calm. Air traffic is light. The 747 taxis out, accelerates down the runway, and climbs smoothly through the clouds. By 3:00 p.m., Flight 611 is at cruise level 350-35,000 feet. Everything is normal, until suddenly, it isn't. At 3:16 p.m., the crew checks in with air traffic control. The last words ever transmitted from Flight 611 are routine. China Airlines 611 maintaining 350. No panic, no warning signs, no indication of trouble. But in less than 3 minutes, the entire aircraft will be gone. Air traffic controllers notice the 747 drifting slightly off course. At first, it seems minor, just a small deviation, nothing serious. But then, radar screens show something impossible. The altitude drops suddenly. Then, almost immediately, the radar return splits into multiple pieces. Controllers think their system is malfunctioning. It isn't. The aircraft has broken apart mid-air. The final moments of Flight 611 were not witnessed by any crew member because the breakup was catastrophic and instantaneous. The entire tail section, including the vertical stabilizer, rear fuselage, and tail cone, separates first. Next, the cabin depressurizes violently. The forward fuselage shears apart. Wings detach. Engines break from their mounts. The aircraft becomes a cloud of debris falling toward the ocean. Passengers and crew never had a chance. Emergency oxygen never deployed. The cockpit voice recorder captured nothing, total silence until the breakup. This was not a typical crash. This was structural failure, and investigators now had a terrifying question. How does a Boeing 747 rip itself in half on a calm, sunny day? With no warning, the Taiwan Strait becomes a massive search area. Debris is scattered over 400 square kilometers. Everything is destroyed, except for one crucial clue: a large portion of the tail and rear fuselage found floating, relatively intact. Investigators pull up the fragment and notice something that makes their blood run cold. A patch. A large repair patch on the fuselage near where the tail section failed. And it looked wrong. Investigators dig through maintenance records. They find something shocking. Back in 1980, 22 years earlier, the same aircraft suffered a tailstrike in Hong Kong. The tail scraped the runway during landing hard enough to cause major structural damage. Boeing's repair instructions required that the damaged section be cut away and replaced entirely. But China Airlines didn't do that. Instead, the maintenance team performed a cheaper doubler plate repair, essentially covering the damaged metal with a large patch. The critical problem? They didn't remove the damaged section before covering it, meaning cracks that should have been eliminated were simply hidden under the patch. For 22 years, every pressurization cycle, every takeoff and landing widened those invisible cracks. What began as a small fracture slowly grew until it reached a point of no return. By the time Flight 611 climbed to 35,000 feet, the crack had grown almost 3 meters long. At cruise altitude, the cabin pressure was too much. The fuselage finally tore open. The rest of the aircraft followed in seconds. Investigators discover something even more unsettling. The original 1980 damage report was incomplete. Maintenance photos were missing. Documentation was vague. Not malicious, just sloppy. But that carelessness allowed a fatally flawed repair to remain unnoticed for 2 decades. China Airlines later admitted that the repair did not follow Boeing's requirements and that this failure directly caused the crash. Over 22 years, the aircraft had gone through numerous check structural inspections, and yet, no one detected the hidden cracks. Why? Because the cracks were under the doubler plate. You can't inspect what you can't see. The repair masked the damage so completely that even experienced engineers had no idea the aircraft was flying with a structural time bomb. Following the crash, new regulations were introduced worldwide. Mandatory non-destructive testing on old repairs, stricter documentation requirements, enhanced oversight on airlines with aging fleets, mandatory fuselage teardown inspections. For older 747 seconds, China Airlines grounded several aircraft for urgent structural checks. And throughout the global aviation industry, the lesson was clear. A cheap repair can cost hundreds of lives decades later. After analyzing debris patterns, fracture surfaces, and maintenance records, investigators determined a tailstrike in 1980 caused major structural damage. The repair made was incorrect and inadequate. Cracks grew slowly for 22 years. At 35,000 feet, the fuselage finally ruptured. The aircraft disintegrated instantly. There was nothing the pilots could have done. This wasn't a pilot error, not a mechanical failure, not sabotage. This was a repair mistake buried under metal waiting to happen. China Airlines Flight 611 stands as a haunting reminder. Sometimes the deadliest disasters don't come from dramatic moments in the cockpit, but from small decisions made years, even decades earlier. Decisions that seem harmless at the time. Decisions buried inside paperwork. Decisions no one expects to matter until they do. If you found this deep dive into China Airlines Flight 611 informative, consider subscribing for more fast-paced aviation investigations. Your support helps us bring more untold stories to light. Stay safe, stay curious, and remember, in aviation, every detail matters.